All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Vinny Chopra and Apartment Syndication Made Easy podcast that we come out live through podcast every week with different great personalities in USA. And I'm really excited about today because Kim Lisa Taylor is a well-known personality in USA, and I've known her for 14 years, maybe 13, 14 years, Kim, and it's been such a wonderful feeling, mutual feeling to get to know you. You have taken so good care of me. We have done 26 syndication PPMs and documents, together. And I just welcome you today. I want to introduce you, though, formally, before we go into our interview. Kim Lisa Taylor is nationally recognized public speaker, author, and attorney, licensed in California and Florida. She is the founder of Syndication Attorneys PLLC, a nationwide corporate securities legal practice firm, the author of the Amazon best-selling book, How to Legally Raise Private Money. Yay, let me see that. Yeah, Kim, there it is right there, guys. That's the book I want everybody to buy. And please buy this one also.
There we go. The two of them are often sold together.
Yes. And then again, the definitive guide to raising, that was the legally private raising money, how to legally raise private money that Kim just shared. And then, of course, the definitive guide to raising money for real estate and small business. That's another one. And she routinely teaches subjects related to raising private money in front of groups ranging from 50 to 1,000 plus attendees. Actually, we just met lately over there in Orlando. Yes, at the conference. And you did a great job, Kim.
Yeah,
Attendees, Kim has the unique ability to convey complex legal subjects in understandable terms. I love that. That's what we really need to understand the concept to audiences larger and small. Her law firm helps entrepreneurs comply with the legal requirements. Definitely. For raising money from private investors, she has been the responsible attorney for over 300 securities offerings. Kim, welcome to the podcast, and great to have you again. You were on the before, and it's such a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule to be with me.
Oh, love you, Vinny.
So tell me, you're a very busy woman. How do you keep it all together?
Well, I have a really great team that helps keep me on track, as do you, right?
Yes.
It's a team that is our sanity.
Yes, it's so important. I think you're so right, Kim, what you just said. I'm the face of, at the peak, I had 135 people full-time in my, businesses vertically, with all the different parts and things like that. So you're right. These are the systems. These are the quality people that we hire, vice presidents, directors, and asset managers, and all of them, because that makes us look good. But if they are not in the background, we wouldn't be nowhere.
That's right. That and technology. There's some
technology. No, I agree.
Order also.
For sure. So let's talk about your company, Syndication Attorneys PLLC. Can you explain a bit more about what syndication means?
Syndication is just a group formed for a common purpose. And it could be for any purpose. You could be buying a yacht or an airplane or real estate or a business. So it's just pooling resources. Some of the people might be pooling their expertise and their knowledge. Other people might be pooling their money.
So right. For the profit making, right? Hopefully we make profit. Right. So then how about, like, you have developed a 10-step list of becoming a successful real estate syndicator. I've been hearing about it. Can you please run us through these steps? And, let's look into how, if some new person, a syndicator, wants to start in this field, what will they need as the blueprint?
Sure. Well, a lot of this is laid out in my book, and the book kind of follows the same format, but it's really all about, laying the foundation. First you have to have the mindset. What is your mindset? Make sure that you have, you're not feeling like you're asking people for favors when you're asking them for money. You're offering them investment opportunities
Yes.
that they need. Then it's about, the next thing is to select an asset class. Pick what it is you're going to buy. Don't jump all over the place. Really focus on one thing and get really good at that. And then if you're interested in something else, then you can shift, just like you did, Vinny, right? You started with multifamily and now you're shifting into the assisted living, but you mastered the multifamily before you started looking at assisted living. So I would encourage everybody else to follow that same kind of a path, right?
So
Then
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just,
I think getting the focus is so right, Kim, what you just mentioned. I mean, my first apartment building I ever bought was 14 units for 180,000. And, it's so exciting that that last year I bought with Enzo Multifamily, my partners, $52 million deal last year, right in Orlando, the Maitland, Bentley. And then we bought in Melbourne, $35 million one in December. So exciting things that if you stick with the game plan and don't divert yourself too unfocused, then things happen for a reason, and you stay in that same niche and learn and build the business in there. Sure, sure.
yeah, that's such sage advice, Vinny. And we've seen you succeed. We've had other clients that have followed the same path where they've started out buying $1 or $2 million apartment complexes, or raising just a few $100,000, and now they're buying $35 and $50 million apartment complexes. And some of them are still in multifamily. Some have branched off into other things. But you get to pick your path, but stay on the path until you
I
succeed.
Totally agree with you, Kim. You're so right. And I do want to say that, I feel like because I've expanded, I am still in multifamily big times, and I'll be buying in Melbourne and Tampa and all the places, and Austin, Texas also, because dismantling of the Silicon Valley is happening right now.
Oh,
Because of the COVID happening, a lot of Silicon Valley employers have said you don't have to come to work right here in Silicon Valley and don't have to spend 1 hour or 2 hours of driving to come to this brick and mortar structure that they paid millions of dollars in prime locations. So
wow.
that's where I am really very heavily focused now to go into Austin market, which we have already started building and so forth. And also in the tech space, like in Melbourne, right in your backyard, actually. You live in St. Augustine, right
Right.
below there,
Sure.
and we are looking into Merritt Island and all that. We just bought a land over there. Looks like this, we put an LOI today for our assisted living and Sebastian and Palm, all the nice places.
Yeah, well, there's some very nice places in Florida.
Sure.
Um, all right, well, so then the next step is to obtain training in that area. Once you decide, and maybe those two, points are going to be one and the same, because maybe you want to go get some training before you know which of those asset classes you want to focus on.
Yeah.
But once you've decided, then you really need to get some training and some coaching in that area. All of our successful clients have had coaches. Every single one of them has gone on and done multiple deals and done this in a big way, has started out with a coach. You don't have to have the coach forever, but maybe for the first 2, 3, 4 deals, you
Yeah.
have a coach, and then you kind of move past the coach because now you've got it down and you got your own systems. So get some training. Vinny's got some great training for you, right, Vinny?
Yes, I do. I do. And I really owe to my coach, really, and the coaches and the program that I spend good amount of money. It's not a cost. See, I think a lot of time people say I can get free information, but you only go so far with the free information. It's good to get a coach. Thanks for saying that. My coaching is getting bigger and bigger, even though I don't have any coaches underneath me. I coach myself every week, and then I have personal coaching students which I coach myself also. But my majority of the focus right now is buying multifamily, building senior assisted living, building multifamily also, and buying hotels. So those are my 4 main
Wow.
jobs.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I don't know how you get it all done. Boy, that's a lot. Um, Well, then the next thing is you need to brand your company. You know,
Yeah.
think about branding yourself, just like, you know, anybody who knows me or who's been around syndication attorneys knows that we've branded syndication attorneys. And, you know, we try to get the name out as often as we can. We try to make it available for people who are searching on Google.
Yeah.
And you know, you just need to brand your company so that people know who you are, just like Apple or Nike or, you know, any of the big companies out there, Google, Facebook, all of them have brands. And so that really means, you know, creating your logo, deciding which the look and feel of your online presence is going to be, you know, what kind of fonts and styles and colors and things like that are you going to use? And then how are you going to get that out to the public? So thinking about, yeah, branding your company.
Yeah. So true, so very true. I mean, you know, and now in the social, world, I should say social media, and with LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, I think is another one, right? You know, people do want to search you. I mean, you know, if you want even $5, no, not five, but maybe $50 or $500 or $50,000, people want to know who you are and where you have come from and things like that. You're right. Yeah, branding is so important. So what's next after that?
Well, so then you've got to think about digging deep into what is your business model going to be. You know, if you're going to do single family, are you going to get money from private lenders? If you're going to do multifamily, you're probably going to syndicate, at least when you get to a certain level. Maybe you're even going to start out with some small multifamily and do some joint ventures, but eventually you're going to realize that the way to scale up your business and maintain control of it is to be able to syndicate it. So that's where we're going to set up the structure for you so that you have control over the day-to-day operations of your company, and your investors are passively investing with you. They're relying on you to generate a profit for them. So we're going to help you do that. But you have to think about when you're picking your business model, what are you buying? Why are you buying it? You know, what do you expect to do with it?
Mhm.
What personal goals will it help you achieve? You know,
Yeah.
so what is your underlying motivation for following this business model, and really putting that into numbers so that you understand, I have to have this many units before I'm going to be able to live the lifestyle I want to live, or I want to, you know, before I can quit my job or before I can retire. You know, you have to pick what your personal goal is that you're trying to achieve, and then map to get there. You know, set a roadmap to get there, and then creating some accountability so that you know when you're getting to the right milestones and you're staying on track. So I think that's very important. Uh,
Totally. Totally.
you know, get beyond, so you're going to get training on an asset class. So when you get your training in your asset class, you're going to go to a real estate trainer like Vinny, and Vinny's going to teach you how to analyze deals and how to find the right properties, which properties to buy, which properties not to buy, how to oversee the property managers, and you know, how to determine when it's the appropriate time to sell or refinance or things like that. That's the kind of training you're going to get from Vinny. Now, Vinny's a little bit unique because Vinny has done so many syndications that he also teaches a bit about how to syndicate. But a lot of the real estate trainers just teach you the real estate, and they say get your syndication training somewhere else. And that's where we come in. We have the book, of course, how to
Yes.
legally raise private money. But in addition to that, on our website, there's over 40 articles on different aspects of syndication. I write them in 2-page articles, so they're very easy to read. They're bite-sized. They're written in plain English so that you can understand. You know, we do free monthly teleseminars so that we can educate people on different aspects of syndication. Vinny's been our guest speaker for a few of those. You know, so you need to just really kind of educate yourself on the process of syndication, which is really the process. It's in part buying the property, but it's more about raising the money legally and structuring your deals with investors and making sure that you're complying with securities laws. You know, there's a lot of fear around complying with securities laws, and the more you learn about it and the more you understand why you're doing things the way you're doing it, or why your attorney is recommending you do things in a certain way, or that you can say certain things and not certain things. Maybe you can advertise sometimes you can't. The reason, once you understand the reason for all of that, then you're going to have a lot more confidence that what you're doing is that you're doing it correctly. You're not going to be afraid of getting in trouble, and you're going to be able to go out and fearlessly raise the money, and not only helping yourself achieve your goals, but also helping your investors achieve their financial goals.
So true. Kim, I want to put a plug for you because, your articles are so understandable. And I share that with my students all the time, and I promote syndicationattorneys.com, www.syndicationattorneys.com. I like to my audience to really click on that, get hold of that and go there and look how many tremendous white pages Kim has put together. And I mean, a lot of my students tell me too, when they go there, they say, oh my gosh, there is so much information. I'm a better person. I learned so much, from Kim's website. So she's got great, great things there, guys. And the other good part are the telecasts. Oh my gosh. I mean, you've been doing it for many years now.
Over 3 years, yeah, over 3 years.
Yeah, and are all archived and very nicely put together, and you could see the subject, the content. So, thanks for giving that, to all the investors, young syndicators, how they can really learn this business, because that's how I got started, with this baby steps, 14 years back. And now, I'm kind of grown up a little bit.
That's right. That's right. And also read the frequently asked questions. So at our website, there's a library, and that's where all these things are housed. And the frequently asked questions are things that people are actually asking me, and I'm writing a question for that, an answer for that. And then I realize if one person's asking that question, so are a lot of other people. So, let's put that out there so everybody has that information available to them. So then the next thing you need to do is build a database. And that really starts with developing an investor marketing program. So, you've got your deal flow going. So you really have two parts to this business. One part is your real estate side and finding deals and learning how to manage your deals and all of that, getting them to the closing table. And then the other part is finding and managing investors. So you're always going to be in the marketing business of learning how to market for investors and get them into your database, find people who are interested in investing in the kinds of things that you're going to be doing, and helping them understand the syndication process, maybe that getting them some education, suggesting that they, read a little bit about it and get educated themselves. There's a whole chapter in my book just for investors on what they should know before they invest in a syndication. So if they understand it, then they're more likely to want to invest with you. So, you're gonna figure out how you're gonna meet investors, how you're gonna make them a lasting impression once you meet them, because just because you meet someone and exchange business cards doesn't mean you have the right relationship to start offering them investment opportunities. You have to go a little deeper. You have to get to know them. You have to develop a relationship with them. There's actually an article on our website called Determining Suitability for investors for Regulation D Rule 506B offering. So just look for the article called Determining Suitability, and I think everybody needs to read that article because it really talks about how to establish a relationship with an investor and how to keep a record of having established that relationship, so that if you're ever questioned by a regulator or by opposing counsel in an investor lawsuit or something like that, you have that record to fall on to be able to defend when you met them, how you developed the relationship, how you got to know them, and that you later on made offers to them, but only after you had gone through those steps. So read the article called Determining Suitability on our website, and and then use that. Write a list of all the people that you know right now, and you don't judge people, don't prejudge people. Don't turn down investors before you know you have one, right? You talk to everybody, ask them if they're interested, and get to know, a little bit more about them. That article actually even has some example questions you can ask, and then tell them about yourself, and what you're doing, and find out if it's a good fit, because it's all about getting to know them well enough, not just financially, but also personally, so that you know whether you want them to invest with you and you want to be in a relationship with them for the next 5 to 7 years when things could get rocky, things could go well. You don't know what's going to happen, so you want to have good partners. So build your database of prospective partners so that you will have enough people that you can ask to invest with you when you have a deal under contract. Here's a little SEC statistic. The SEC says that the median raise for a Regulation D Rule 506 offering is $1.5 million with 14 investors. So, and it's kind of the rule of thumb amongst the real estate trainers and other syndicators is you really need to have 2 or 3 times that many people in your database.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so whatever you want to raise, you need to know that the people in your database are capable of fulfilling that much 3 times. And that way you're pretty likely to be able to raise the money and get that deal closed. If you don't know the people now, part of your investor marketing plan is how are you going to get to know people? What kind of events are you going to attend? Are you going to actually hold some educational events in your community that you can invite people to, that you can get to know them that way? Are you going to join philanthropic organizations? Are you going to go to nationwide real estate training events? You know, there's all different ways that you can meet people, even your church or, you know, just some local meetups. All of those things are excellent ways, but you have to do it. You have to get out of your home and go and meet those people once we're all able to go and meet people again.
So true, Kim. And also, you know, the webinars, right? You know, doing some educational webinars are getting more and more popularity. I
Yeah.
know that, you know, that way we are bringing people in to educate them so that from there they could ask you again more information, and then we could turn them into, you know, getting the pre-existing relationship. I would love to ask you that. I know we have talked about curation periods, or what does SEC say about that? Like how long before we can really show a future deal? That's the other thing. I have a question. I tell my students always, you know what? Once you get the project underground, on the ground, or LOI signed or something, you cannot really take after that the investors on this side that you meet later on after you have. So kind of explain a little bit
So
more.
that's really what the crux of that article on determining investor suitability is about. This is an explanation of what the SEC believes is necessary to develop the relationship before you can start making offers to people. And so it's not about, there was a company that asked the SEC to give them what's called a no action letter. And they wrote down, these are the procedures we're going to follow when we're developing relationships. If we do it just this way, would you consider that to be in compliance with the rules, so that we would, can we get a no action letter saying it's okay to do it that way? And the SEC said, they gave them the no action letter, and they said it's not about the passage of time, it's about the quality of the relationship. It's about making sure that you already know enough about that investor to understand whether they're suitable to be in your deal, and that they know enough about you to understand whether they would be comfortable investing with you. So you really have to actually have a conversation about their finances, about their past investing. Maybe you want to ask them now where their funds are, because that's going to be very important if you're raising money in the short term. The people who have money in the stock market may be reluctant to pull it out, or maybe after it recovers, everybody wants out. So you really want to understand where they are and what their thinking is about that, so that you're not asking them at the wrong time. So that's something to consider. So it's really more about making sure that you've had that conversation with them to determine their suitability before you start making offers. So it really shouldn't happen in the same conversation, but you want to, then that's why you want to have like your own internal policy where, when you get someone's business card, you get their contact information, that you then follow up with a call where you go through those questions in that article, and you get that information and you put it in a record keeping system with, its date and timestamp, so you know when that conversation happened. And then now after that, when you get deals, then you can talk to them about your deals.
Love it, love it, love it. I know you have really taught me well, over the years, the record keeping, the logs, and, making sure the substantial is the word, right?
Yeah.
Pre-existing relationships, which is not just overnight. I mean, you got to make sure that they understand the risks and all that, and they understand you, who you are, and what you will be looking into and what you'll be bringing in. And then maybe in the second or third contact, you could share some case study,
Sure.
of
Yeah,
something that is that right? Yeah.
right.
Huh?
That's right. But don't start out with case studies because
No, never. No.
the SEC considers that to be the first step in making an offer.
Yeah.
So don't do that until you've established that relationship. Once you've had that suitability conversation, then at that point, you could start showing them what they call tombstone ads or deals that you did before.
Did before. And can you kind of touch also? I know social media has overtaken the world, and and what's permissible, what's not, even the websites. I know when you looked at my website, you were able to cross off a lot of things in there. Can you
Well,
kind of throw some light on that? Yeah.
so you kind of have to decide where you're at in your syndication business. So if you're starting out, uh, most people start out doing Regulation D Rule 506B offerings. And
Yeah.
Rule 506B offerings allow you to raise an unlimited amount of money from an unlimited number of accredited investors and up to 35 non-accredited but sophisticated investors. But you can't find them through any means of general advertising or solicitation. So the way you prove that is to prove that you had this pre-existing substantive relationship that we've been talking about. The investors are able to self-certify, so you will give them a subscription agreement when they make their investment, and they'll tell you whether they meet the definition of accredited, or if they're not accredited, then they'll tell you how they believe they're sophisticated enough to understand the merits and risks of the offering. And they'll put all that into a subscription agreement. The subscription agreement will also have an offeree questionnaire where they'll be asked questions about their prior investing experience and their education and things like that are relevant to determining whether they're sophisticated enough to be in these deals. So a sophisticated investor is more than somebody with just a job and some savings. They have had to have had some past experience, education, or training. So maybe even somebody who's in Vinny's coaching program who wants to invest with you, well, they have been trained in Vinny's coaching program, so they could be suitable. Whereas somebody who just has a job and some savings, but no training like that, they may not be suitable. So I guess if you have investors that aren't suitable, you got to send them to Vinny's training program.
I'll indoctrinate them, right?
That's right. That's right. Or get them to read my book so they get under.
Yes,
You can
yes,
understand
yes.
that as well.
Yours and mine. Where is mine?
That's right. And read
That's a good one too.
That's right.
I'm so happy that your big book became top seller on Amazon, and it's such a pleasure, and it was wonderful. And I'm even coming out with a new one. This is my
That's
new
great.
one. Positivity brings profitability. So I'm looking forward to that. We just started writing the third one, investing in assisted senior living. I mean,
Okay.
senior living investing is our another title, and then lending made easy is my another one with my buddy who is a good friend, and we are a co-host also on a Friday show. We do it together, yeah, with Bo.
Great. Well, so after you've done those steps, building your database of investors, the rest of the steps are about analyzing your deals. You've got to have a lot of deals to look at before you're going to get one accepted. And, realize that the people that are finding deals are the people that are sending out 30 or 40 LOIs a month, not the people that are sending out one every 2 weeks. You have to analyze a lot of deals. You've got to, and you can't agonize over your LOIs. You have to get quick at it. And, I'm sure Vinny has some techniques for doing that. So analyze your deals, make offers. This is a numbers game. For every 100 LOIs you send out, maybe 10 of them you're going to get a positive response. Maybe 2 of those are going to get accepted, and then 1 of them gets to the closing. So, think about that when you're doing this. It's just all about numbers, and keep the numbers going. Then, get a property under contract. Once you get a property under contract, now you're ready. You're ready to syndicate. What we say is hire your attorney, or hire your securities attorney. You're going to hire a real estate attorney to help you with the purchase agreement.
Sure.
Okay. And they're going to help you. A real estate attorney is not a securities attorney. They're very different. And be careful, because there's a lot of real estate attorneys out there that will tell you they can do your securities offering documents, but if they don't practice in this area of the law, they may not have securities liability insurance, and a lot of them don't understand PPMs or compliance. So they might give you some bad advice, not even realizing that there's some other requirements that you need to follow. And, they're not going to be on the hook if the thing goes wrong. It's you that's going to be on the hook. So make sure you're getting the right advice. So let your real estate attorney help you with the purchase and sale agreement, with the escrow, the title, and with the lender. So they're going to be the one reviewing the loan documents and helping you with all of that. The corporate securities attorney, like our firm, we're going to be the ones who draft your private placement memorandum, your operating agreements for you and your investors, for your management team, your subscription agreements. We're also going to do the filings with the SEC and with the state securities agencies. There's some very strict timelines on when those things have to be filed. So, and it's kind of a pain to file them. So a lot of people, especially like your real estate attorney, might not realize that those things have to be filed, and they might not even give you that right advice, or they might tell you have to do it yourself, and it's not easy to do. So make sure you're hiring an attorney that has experience in this field. Preferably hire us, and we'll teach you how to structure the deal with investors, and how to set up everything right within your management structure. If there's going to be problems in your syndicate, it's more likely going to happen at the management level than it is going to happen with the investors. So just keep your management team small, and don't bring people into management that you can hire to provide services. So if you're already paying somebody a commission or some other fee, don't bring them into your management and then continue to pay them for the duration of the project. I see that happen a lot.
Can you expand on that a little bit more? Sorry.
Yeah. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, my property manager, I want to bring them in and and let them be part of my management team, and we'll give them some of the equity." And the problem is then you can't get rid of them if they don't perform, and they don't really have an incentive to perform. And it does, and you're paying them way more than you would, because you would just be hiring them to do the job anyway, and you'd be paying them a fair wage for that. Now you're actually giving them something extra that they weren't necessarily entitled to, if they're not doing anything extra in order to get the deal done. So, don't bring your, people in that you can hire, but, do bring people in that complement your skill set. So if you're really good at talking to brokers and analyzing deals, then you want somebody else on your team that's really good at talking to investors and raising money. Sure. And, you need to cover both those bases, and teams of 3 or 4 people seem to be the best of the hundreds of securities offerings that I've been the responsible attorney for. Anytime you have 5 or more people in management, things start to get a little bit tense within the management team, that not everybody agrees on everything, and then somebody's feelings get hurt, or
too many cooks in the kitchen.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And if you don't want to have other partners, then just hire staff. Hire really good staff. Hire some young college student who's anxious for experience, and bring them on and get them to help you with the deal analysis and the finding the deals.
Awesome idea for sure. And you can train them, and they will be more valuable to you as you teach them skills. So right
about it. At some point they'll leave you and go become a
They will, which is all right. I want my students to do better than me. I always tell them, always, because I really believe, in giving, of course, forward. Not only that, but where I am now, and a lot of the students who are in my academy, of course, they're starting out, right? But a lot of people are joining me who have already 1,000 doors, 3,000 doors.
Wow.
And they're still joining me. I'm surprised by it, but God, they find that I'm relatable, and I can, teach them even to get to the next level.
That's right. Well, I referred somebody to you today, so.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Kim. And, yes, so kind of you. No, I think this world is to really, help each other. We are in it together. It's such a big pie. And I really, I totally appreciate the 26 deals, we did together, and we'll be doing more. And the exciting part is that, it's always, reputation is number one, right? And especially in the syndication world, I wanted to mention that transparency, communication come on the top, honesty, everything, trustworthiness, integrity. All those things are number one. And I love this field because everybody is, from the SEC ruling. So that way, it's so good that, we have complete, I think, what's the word? There are best practices, right, in any business. But if there is that watchdog, then it's even better, so that everybody
Well,
is.
and remember that the securities agencies, there's the SEC, and then every state has its own securities agency, and all of them are, their biggest mandate is to protect investors and to make sure that the investors are well informed before they make investment decisions. And that's your obligation. If you're selling securities, you have an obligation to give your investors all of the information they need to make informed consent. And that's what the private placement memorandum is for. The other thing about the private placement memorandum is it becomes an insurance policy for you. So if you explain in the private placement memorandum all the different things that could go wrong, that could cause the deal to lose money, or for the investors not to get all their money back, or not to get the returns that you're offering, if they understand all of that and they read it and they invest with you, which they then attest to that when they fill out their subscription agreement, that they've read everything, that they've asked all the questions they had, they've sought whatever legal or financial advice they wanted before they're making their investment decisions. Well, by doing those two things, they're assuming the risk of that investment. And so as long as you've told them in advance the different things that could go wrong, and if it's not based on your negligence or something that someone on your team willfully did wrong, then you're going to be protected, and you're not going to get sued if the deal tanks. Ideally, you want to have good coaches so that you're not finding deals that tank, but things happen, and sometimes it's just unavoidable, and it's the result of the weather, or some environmental event that you couldn't control, that things do happen. And I'm certainly, there's a lot of people probably right now who are because of the coronavirus are suffering a little bit because of lost rents and things like that, and lost jobs. So things like that do happen. They're not always foreseeable, but you can at least write about those things in your offering documents and warn people that these things do happen, and that you're not responsible for all of them. You can't be. So so then the last step, Vinny, is just finish up your due diligence. So once you get that property under contract, you've got your attorney drafting your offering documents, you're conducting your due diligence at the same time. Don't wait too long to hire us. Don't finish your due diligence and then hire us. You won't have enough time to raise the money. You really need to have us drafting the documents at the same time you're conducting your due diligence. And my suggestion is always that you have a signed purchase agreement before you hire us. So, at that point you have a locked up contract, and, review the financials, get to the site as quickly as possible before you spend any more money, because you don't want to waste a lot of money and then find out that the deal's not going to happen. But once you've done those three things, that you've got a purchase agreement, you've been to the site, you've reviewed the financials, you're ready to hire your securities attorney, and you hire us to help and start drafting your documents. We'd like to finish the documents at the same time you finish your due diligence, and now you've got another 6 weeks or so to be able to go out and raise the money. Give yourself enough time. Be careful of people who want short closings. Make sure you build in some extensions, especially right now. With your investors being a little nervous and maybe some of them having lost money in the stock market, you may have to talk to more people to be able to fill your investment.
Money.
So give yourself a little more time. The banks are being crazy slow right now. They are just over scrutinizing every single thing. And they're also asking for additional reserves to cover debt service. And it could be as much as 6 months to 18 months reserves in some cases. So you want to make sure that you've got the time to raise all that money and get those reserves and get the lender everything they're going to want to get right now. Things will loosen up eventually, but right now things are a little tight.
No, I will definitely say, Kim, like you just said, start the due diligence process quickly, because pretty much, we have looked through, I hope, when we put the deals, the exciting part is I've closed on all 28 deals from start to finish, from LOI till the closing, which is very good, 100% record. But the key thing is, once you have done really great analyzing and also going through all the ups and downs, or, the business plan, I call it, right, for the property, when you get to the due diligence within 4 days, you can make a decision if it's a go or a no-go and hire, Kim's service right away. And I even tell my students, and I've done it, start the repair letter in the seventh day of the due diligence. Don't wait till 25 days or 30 days because you want the time to negotiate. If there is something you uncover, you want to go to the seller and through the broker to say, hey, this is what we found already. And we start taking pictures and put them in the Dropbox so that we say we have proof of everything and even get some quotations for some of the major things, which I've done it. And I've won as much as even 450,000 repair credit at the closing and things like that. 250 comes to my mind. I don't retrade that much, but in some C plus or C, class assets, you may come across that, right? So
Right.
it's very good to get to that point where you say, you know what, it's a go, and let's hire then, Kim's services, because you're right. You want to have ample time to get the investors to, DocuSign and everything and wiring the money. And uh, the key thing I like is, I would love to share that also with everybody, is to give your investors 2% interest per annum from the day they wired the money into the property LLC up to the day of closing. And that has served me well because I've never lost sleep. I have always had more money in the bank than I needed, at the closing table, because a lot of the time money is for capex that you don't need at the closing, and your acquisition fee, you don't need it at the closing. So you have all the money there. So that has been something which has really served me well.
That's fantastic. Well, and so once you get your final offering documents, then it's up to you to go out and start raising the money. And that's really just calling all those people that you've already pre-vetted. By
Yeah.
now, you should have already shared with them your property package. So
Yes.
when you hire your securities attorney, when you hire us, we're going to ask you for a copy of your property package. And
Yes.
that's where you're going to have put together some basic information about the property with photographs, a description, showing what's in the immediate vicinity, maybe doing some demographic studies. Then you're also going to provide 3 tables. These 3 tables are very important, and everybody gets them in the right order. So just realize or they get them in the wrong order. You're telling a story. So your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning is, how much money do you need to get into the property? The sources and uses of funds. Where's the money coming from? How much is from the bank? How much is from the investors? Any other sources, any seller credits, anything like that? And then the second thing is, how is that money going to be used? And that's where you are going to itemize your acquisition fees, your closing costs, your attorney's fees, any kind of reserves that the lender is requiring, any loan fees, things like that, and your improvement budget. All of that's going to be at the bottom of that table, and those 2 numbers at the top and the bottom have to add up. So that's your sources and uses of funds. We're going to take that information right out of your property package and put it into the private placement memorandum. That's an SEC requirement. So they want to see that. They want to have that in there so that investors can see where the money is going. The next table that you need to have is your projections. Most people do a 5-year projection, where you're showing what you're going to do to the property, your incomes and anticipated income and expenses, and how that's going to change over time, and what that's going to translate to as far as a return for your investors and payments and compensation to the manager. So that's a very important table too. That's the middle of your story. The end of your story is, what do you anticipate doing when it comes time to sell? How much do you think you can sell it for? And how much equity will there be after you've paid down some of the loan, after the property has increased in value because you've increased the net operating income? All of those things. Now you're going to be able to show that to your investors so that they can see that there should be a big chunk of money coming back after you sell the property that's going to get divvied up amongst all the investors and yourselves. And that, whatever that is, you're going to take that amount of money that you're going to give each investor, divided by the number of years that you've had that property, add it to the returns you've already given them, and that's going to give you your average annual return. Your investors want to see that, and they want to see that right now somewhere in the mid-teens.
Yeah.
So that number should be in the mid-teens. Any preferred returns that you're doing should be maybe 6 to 8%. preferred returns. I've seen them as low as 5. And there's some very big syndicators that will even do 5 or 6% preferred returns in years 1 and 2 while they're getting the property positioned and more profitable. And then they'll go to 8. So there's nothing wrong with doing all of those things, but that's something we can help you with, is help you figure out what's the right strategy. But that property package is going to be the first thing that you're going to show your investors. Don't show it to your investors until after we have reviewed it. And the reason for that is because we may ask you to change something, or we may say, well, if you do it this way, it will be better than the way that you've shown it. But once you've shown it to people, you may be stuck and you may not be able to change it the way that we're suggesting. So, have us review it before you start showing it to your investors. But then you can show that to your investors while we're drafting the rest of the documents and tell them to get their money ready if they're interested. Then when they get the documents, it's just the formality. They read about the risks, they go ahead and they sign it, and they wire the funds, and you start accumulating those funds in your bank account, not in the property escrow.
No, right.
You put those funds in your company's bank account. You don't touch those funds until you're ready to close on the property. Then you wire only the amount needed to close to the property escrow account, and then that gets dispersed according to, between the buyer and the seller and the escrow and all of that and title. And then whatever other money is left over, that's then after you close on the property, you can pay yourself your acquisition fees, and you can reimburse yourself for any pre-closing expenses, including your legal fees.
Yep. Excellent. Wow. What a systematic way, and like you said, Kim, you've written it in the whole book also. So I will highly, highly recommend everybody listening and watching to us, go to Amazon and get the Kindle edition, get the paperback. I remember
Audible's coming.
Oh, yeah, Audible is coming. Awesome. That's fabulous. Let's change a little bit gear. I know we have seen that many of the investors have friends and family, and they want to raise money for other syndicators. So throw some light on it, and what's legal, what's illegal, and how people should do and what not to do, all that.
So the rule is that you're not allowed to pay commissions to anybody who doesn't have a securities license for referring investors to your deal. So what you need is to create your management team who are going to provide services to your company, and then you can carve up the management amongst all the people that will be providing services to your company. But realize that everyone in management has a job of raising money. No one is getting compensated for raising money or for the amount of money they've raised. They're all getting compensated for the other jobs they're doing for management. So that is the most defensible way to do that, is to create a team where everybody understands they're all raising money, but they're all getting paid for the other jobs that they're doing, not for raising money. Don't ever pay people an amount that's based on the amount that they've raised, because that's going to be construed as a commission, and you can't even do that within your own management team. So never have a formula on how they, you calculated what percentage was theirs. It's always got to be based on their other jobs that they do in management other than raising money. So that's one of the ways to do it. Another way that's been discussed is doing a fund of funds, where you actually create your own securities offering and you go out and raise money from your own investors, and then your company comes in as a single investor in somebody else's deal. So that's another way to do that. And I believe that Alicia has put a link to an article called Fund of Funds.
Yes, we got it. We're going to put that in there so that everybody can get that. Definitely. Yes.
So read that, or you can get it off our website, either way, but read that article about Fund of Funds. So just realize that to do that, you can't just go out and create an LLC. You've got to do the same exact things. You've got to either register your offering and qualify for an exemption from registration. You have to pick the appropriate exemption. You have to make sure that your investors have the right qualifications for that exemption. You have to have the right documents to be able to substantiate that exemption. And so you're going to still have to work with a securities attorney on your own to set that up so that you have that structure in place when you go invest in someone else's deal. We do have some clients that do that. and they do it, over and over again. So maybe they'll bring in 500,000 or $1 million into each deal through their own LLC, but they each have their own securities offering to do that. But we can set those up for you as well.
So how does it work then? Is it like a blind pool then? Because these investors are putting the money into that fund of issuer, I'd say,
So maybe
partner.
you could create your own fund just for one deal.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have something that we call a segregated offering that where we do a master PPM, teach people, this is what we're investing in, and show them what your business model is. And then when you find something, then we can create a separate offering just for that offering. But they've already seen the PPM, so they're just waiting to hear the details of the offering, and then they're ready to invest.
Okay, okay. So it could be specific to a particular race, and that could be then tied to this fund of the fund, as I understand. But how does the compensation work then? How
Well,
does
I mean, so the other way to do it, Vinny, is the way that you discussed, where we just have one big pool of investors that you're raising money before you know what deals. You're raising money based on your business plan at that point. We call that an investment summary. So
yes,
you would just raise the money in advance, say, these are the kinds of deals we're going to invest in. As long as we find the deals that meet these parameters, we'll make
yes,
the investment. You might set some rules that you don't put in over a certain percentage of ownership interest or something like that, so that you don't become responsible for guaranteeing somebody else's loan. But a lot of times, if you're bringing a fund of funds, you have to realize that your company investing in someone else's deal is only entitled to the same thing that they're paying their investors. And
yes.
so if you're going to get paid from your own fund, you either have to reduce, and give them something less than your company actually received from that other syndicate, or you have to maybe ask the syndicate that you're investing in to give you a piece of their management
Yes.
and a role in management, which your investors will like, because then that gives you the opportunity to find out from the management level what's going on at the property, and you can have a better pipeline into what's happening at the property to be able to keep your investors informed. So that's another way to do it that's I think is protective of your investors.
I appreciate that. No, that's so good, because I know a lot of, I've been reading or listening and people are asking. So I don't know if it's appropriate, but like any kind of help you might give people, what might be a range, right? Because you're right. If it's a fund of a fund, the investors are the same investors. They're in two different buckets, but the property is the same. So they should get the same returns, in my thinking,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right. So that's why you really want to, as the manager, you really want to get compensated for your role in management of that other syndicate that your fund is investing in. So it's very common that you'll find people, if you're going to bring in, 500,000 or $1 million, they're not going to have any problem letting you in to their management usually. And it depends. If it's a $50 million offering, maybe they're not going to do that. But if it's a $5 million offering and you're bringing a substantial amount of that, then they may be more than willing to let you in to management. And I think then you carve off a piece of the management earnings for you. But you also participate in helping them manage that property.
Sure, sure. You have to have actively participation, I guess, then, right?
That's
Yeah,
right. And you're going to want to, because that's going to give you, that inside information to be able to share with your investors.
totally, totally, totally. And then again, I was going to say, like compensation wise, can you touch that, or is it all over the place? How
As
is it?
far as what the manager earns,
Yeah,
well, you could still get an acquisition fee. So maybe you get a portion of that other syndicate's acquisition fee. You could get maybe even a share of their asset management fees. And probably those are the main things you'd get. And then you'd get some share of the profits, ideally from your own syndicate, right? So you're probably going to set it up so that you're still going to maybe split some profits with your investors, perhaps, or you do that at the other syndicate level.
I see, I see. Any range, like is it 10%, 15 or anything, or should we?
It's all dependent on how much the raise is and how much you're bringing. And, again, we don't want it to look like it really can't be completely dependent on what you're
Yeah.
bringing. But if you're just bringing $100,000, then you really
Yeah.
shouldn't expect any compensation for that, because what kind of role can you really play that's going to be
Yeah.
meaningful to that syndicator? Not very much. But if you're bringing in a third of the money, then you are going to take an active role to protect your investors.
Surely,
And so
surely.
again, maybe in that, then you're going to have to carve out what portion of that is available to your investors. And I think there's so many different ways to slice pie. In fact, there's actually a book called Slicing Pie. It's
Oh,
all
wow.
about how to. It's really more about doing it for startup companies and how you would start up. The founders, how they carve up the interest for the founders. But it has some relevance to syndication. You have to think about the fact you've got. Somebody is going to find, vet, and oversee the deal, and that person is going to be busy for the whole entire time that you have that deal.
That's
okay?
right.
And so they need to get paid well for the duration of that, or else they're going to end up having to go out and get other jobs, and that investment could suffer. Then you've got, a portion that should be reserved for the people that are raising the money. But again, it's really kind of all intermixed.
Yes.
But if you're doing it that way, then you have to think about the fact that the people that are raising money, that's important. And then you've also got people who are guaranteeing loans.
Yep.
And maybe somebody who found the deal. And, so you have to think about how you can carve up all of those things. But the people that are raising money, they're important, but they're only involved in it maybe in the beginning.
Yes.
And then, you're keeping them informed as things happen, and maybe you're giving them some jobs. But the people that are really working hard are the people that are managing the deal.
So true. So very true. Kim, such a pleasure. My gosh, I can't believe it. We have spent about an hour, and we can talk for, another hour. And
we could do a whole day.
So many nuggets, so many great nuggets you have given to the audiences. And, I'm really so appreciative and love to have you back, and yeah, it's such a pleasure. And please tell our audience, how they can reach you and how they can, really be in business with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the best way to reach us is at syndicationattorneys.com. If you want to schedule an appointment, there's a button there, I think on almost every page where you can schedule an appointment with me.
Yes.
Then we do have a pre-syndication retainer that we use for people who want to have access to us as they're developing their investment strategies and their investor marketing plans.
Yep.
And we can help you with all of that. We'll give you an investor marketing plan with that. So that's kind of a no-cost way to get involved with us. And then we'll also, it's not a no cost, but it's a minimal cost.
Funded or something like that.
We charge about $1,000 for it. It gives you up to 3 hours of one-on-one legal advice, the investor marketing plan template, and we can have calls to talk about that and help you develop that. We'll even review it. Whatever you need, we'll give you an investor marketing plan blueprint. We'll even give you a discount off your first syndication that's equal to or greater than the amount of your pre-syndication retainer. And we'll give you access to our Facebook group, where we're going to start doing Friday masterminds.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Kim, it's such a pleasure, and it's just so great to know you. We are great friends, and you have really, what I really have right now is, you have so much that you have given me, and guided me along, and I really appreciate that. It's a pleasure to know you, and God give you all the, abundance, happiness, wealth, business, everything. And I look forward to see you in Florida, because we are, purchasing, buying, building a lot of things over there. Thanks again for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. If you like, bye, Kim. The book is, the book is there, guys. And thank you for tuning in. Please give comments, share, like, and tell us what are the great personalities you like we need to bring on this show. And thank you again for tuning every week on my 2 shows. As you know, I have the Apartment Syndication Made Easy and my motivational show, Mr. Smiles Motivation Talk Show. And my 3rd is starting now, Innovative Investing in Senior Living. That's the 3rd podcast we'll be doing every week for you. So thanks again. God bless you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cut.
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to vinnychopra.com or texting the word syndication to 474747. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.